Man, sales is tough. I'm just not cut out to be a salesperson. Have you ever felt that way? Selling doesn't need to be so difficult. My name is Harry Spaight. I'm here to serve and to help you succeed. Join me as we discuss sales made easy. Something else that goes along with being gifted. What would you say that is?
Well, obviously, you see it in a lot of people, Harry, is you see the heart, you see the devotion and the drive to get up and go. I'm a type A personality, like an A minus, not like an A plus plus, right? I'm driven, but I'm not like driven to the fact that, or to the sense that I live and breathe and die by this particular thing. I'm motivated to get up and work out and do those things and help out the team. And so I wanted to work on my craft. I wanted to get better at what I did. And I believe that is what drove me later in life in sales and all these other things that I've done, right? And those are the things that I look at for people who want to succeed or people who want to do. You set a goal, like you said, you got hundreds or thousands of people who say, I want to do this. I want to play football. I want to write a book. I want to start my own business. You may have the ability to do it, but will you follow through with it?
What is the good word today? With us, we have Coach Chris of the Red Chair Experience. Chris and I have known each other for a while. He's been on the podcast before, Sales Made Easy. Chris gets it. He does make sales easy. But today, it's a really special day for Coach Chris. So, Chris, welcome to the Sales Made Easy podcast, and tell me, why is today so special?
Well, Harry, thank you for having me once again on the show. We were talking about energy just a second ago, so I'm trying to bring the energy. I'm trying to soup it up and supercharge it, right? What's so exciting about today is the release of the Red Chair Experience.
All
It has been
right.
released.
Woohoo!
Release the Krakens.
All right, the Red Chair Experience. Tell me, what is this Red Chair Experience, Chris?
Well, Harry, as you may know, I'm sitting in the red chair, but it is a red leather recliner, and it turned into a book that is all about daily inspiration for success in life and business. And so it's an opportunity for somebody to sit down and maybe get some inspiration for the day or get some motivation for the day, get something to kind of move them forward. Because sometimes we just need that. We just need that extra boost.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, you've spent some time writing this book. Can we talk a little bit about why you wrote this book about, the daily inspiration? Are you a guy that this is your background, being inspired daily, and you wanted to share it, or what's the scoop?
Well, it came about as a result of a couple of things. I think I'd always wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what about. And because I deal with serial perfectionism and imposter syndrome and some other things, that people other like myself may struggle with, I wasn't sure what I wanted to write a book about. And the shortly before the pandemic hit, my younger brother died, and about 6 months after that, I got a meme from a friend of mine that said during the pandemic, this was May of 2020. So he sent me a meme and it said, if you're not improving yourself, if you're not getting better, if you're not doing something to create a side hustle or something along those lines, then what are you doing? You're wasting your time, is really what it said. And that was the inspiration for me that kind of just nudged me over the edge to say, okay, it's time to write a book. I had been reading for probably 2 years prior to that, or a year and a half prior to that, these daily inspirational books, because I needed something. I felt that I just wanted something in my life that inspired me. And so I picked up these books and I started reading them. And those were the inspiration, that and the chair and other things. But those were the real inspiration for what is this daily inspirational read today.
Wow. So this is quite an extensive book. Can I ask how long it took you to put it together?
You can ask.
Okay. Hey, Chris, how long did it take you to put the book together and to actually write it?
Well, gosh, writing it, as you know, Harry, I mean, I've known you for a while now, and I started writing the book probably a few months before I met you. So it's been a year and a half. It was a year and a half that it took me to put it together. And then this publishing process has been something I never experienced before. So I had no idea what to expect. And I think I've read my book another 6 or 7 times since I wrote it, right? Since I finished writing it, I've already read it another 6 or 7 times. So it's been quite a process.
Yeah. So a year and a half, and it's now I have a book as well. This is not about me, but I know that what 40,000 words looks like. How many words are in your book, Chris?
You're bringing this up because you know how many words. There's about 130,000 words in this book.
So Chris
Yes.
wrote. All right. So I thought I was doing something special by writing a book. Chris wrote more than three of my books. So hats
Well,
off to you, man.
well, thank you. But it's, it's really interesting because a lot of people look at this and they go, oh gosh, that's huge. That's a lot of words. But when you break it down, it really comes down to about, I think it was 330 to 350 words per entry. So
Hmm.
there's 366 entries, right? So one for each day of the year plus the leap year. So you have these entries, and they're really only about, on average, about 350 words, right?
Right.
It's a 3 minute read. It's a
Yeah.
5 minute read at most, right? Sometimes you've got ones that are longer than others, and I understand that. Um, but this is something that really is designed to be a kind of a quick shot in the arm, right? It's a quick, okay, I needed that today.
Yeah.
Just a quick thought. And one of our friends wrote a review for the book, and I was blown away by it. I was Kathy, and shout out to Kathy. But Kathy
Kathy Svetina,
Spaight,
ladies and
yes,
yes.
sorry. Um, but she had written the review, and what she said was just, I mean, it gave me chills. And it was just something as simple as you sit down with a cup of warm tea and you read this, and it's your friend gently asking you, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should do that. And it was the way she wrote it, it was like, oh my gosh. So it just kind of blew me away. I thought, what a great way to describe it.
Yeah. Well, she's special. You're special. So yeah, I have no doubt that
Thank you.
this book is really, just the whole concept of it coming from the red share, so forth. So talk to me a little bit about the red share and why is it special to you?
Oh gosh. All right. Sorry, I have to strengthen myself for this so I don't cry.
Okay.
Um, so the original owner of this red chair is was my father, my stepfather, and he was my business mentor. And for a number of years, I would call him, and whenever I needed help with business, because he was in sales, I was in sales. We had a natural connection. He and I both played college football, and so we just had that natural connection. Of course, married to my mom as well helped, but he was somebody I really liked and trusted, and just knew he had my best interest at heart. Well, we lost him in 2016, and my mom moved the chair to her place when she moved from their house near the DC area, and she held on to the chair for years. And my younger brother had some hip issues, and so he needed some place that he could go and sit when he couldn't sleep at night, or that kind of stuff. And so had this um, we had this opportunity to bring it over to him. So I took it. I went up to my mom's, grabbed the chair, brought it over to him, and we set it up for him because he had a chair, but it was just total disrepair and falling
Hmm.
apart. So he slept in the chair from time to time, or this was his chair, right? I mean, we
Hmm.
grew up in a time when our parents had their own chair, right? When dad came home, he had his chair, and
Get
grandpa
out of
came
my
home,
chair.
yeah, it was their chair, right? And this is really what that is. Well, my brother, we lost him in September of 19.
Mm.
And when I went up and I was spending time with my sister-in-law and my niece and nephew, they said, would you mind taking the chair? Because we can't have it around the house. It just reminds us way too much of you. And I said, absolutely. And so it sits this is the corner of my master suite. And it's in such a position that I can look out the window over here, but I can't watch television or anything. I mean, it's really just focused on sitting. And if you could see right next to me, next to the window, is this stack of books that I have that I'm reading, or that I have read, or that I'm trying to read. And so that was really the inspiration for it. So it became this chair was a place for me to go and have my daily time. And whether it was praying or meditating or having conversations with the previous owners, I occasionally do that as well. And I joke about it, but I may say some unkind things. So,
I like it.
but no, that's what it really has become, is this place of inspiration for me to go. And I wrote a good portion of the book in this chair.
Wow, that's amazing. The just the history of the chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is just knowing, um, you know, someone sitting there and looking at things and sitting, reading, whatever, right? Is
Right.
just kind of feeling that spirit being passed along to you. So, what is so you start writing this book? Did you start out thinking it was going to be what it ended up to be?
No, I think the original thought was I just wanted to probably put things down on paper. I mean, I wanted to write a book, but I just didn't know what it would look like. And reading these daily inspirational books that was really cool. And I thought, oh, this would be kind of neat to be something along these lines. But what happened is I found myself writing about personal experiences. And I think this is where people get really kind of caught up in it. They're like, holy mackerel, that's really revealing. That's very vulnerable. And I said, yeah, that's what the book is about. It's about being inspired by the things that happen in your life. And sometimes those things are sticky, right? They're not pretty. And you go through times, and you have these moments of grief, or you have these moments of challenge, and you learn from them, right? We all learn from the things that happen to us, and how we react to them obviously is super important. But we get this opportunity to learn from the things that happen in our life, whether they're mistakes or they're opportunities just to learn, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they say the best way to learn is by what? By making mistakes. So
Yeah, well, I make a lot of them, so I'm learning a lot.
you and I both, right? That's
All
why it
right.
was so easy to write the book. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. All right. So you start writing this book. I mean, you've got inspiration for 366 days. I mean,
Yeah.
where does all of this inspiration come from? That's a lot, it seems like.
Well, I'm not young. I know you can't tell because of my hair color, but I am young. I'm not very young. I've had 50 plus years of experience. And when you grow up and you live the life that I did, I mean, we all have our own unique experiences, right? Whether we grew up in a two-parent or a single parent household, whether we grew up with siblings or by ourselves, we all have these opportunities to pick up and learn from them. And what you're going to see in the book as a reader is there's experiences from when I was growing up, landscaping with my dad and my two brothers, to high school, to college, and after college, right? And there were things that were written almost the day of or the day after they happened, right? So it's having those fresh thoughts and ideas that just come to you. You can find inspiration from a lot of things. And again, I have these books that were sitting here with me, but sometimes it was just picking up and opening up a book, or sometimes it was going to a daily quote website and saying, okay, what's the daily quote for today, right? Does it inspire me? Does it not? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then you just move on. But there were days when, Harry, I couldn't write fast enough, right? I mean, it was like
Mm-hmm.
I've got these three ideas and I want to throw them down, and so it just starts coming. But it was funny because probably the last 40 or 50 entries, I'm going, okay, what have I not written about that I could talk about?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some double entries, and double entries meaning you talk about faith a couple of times, you talk about tragedy a couple of times, you talk about grief, or there are things that maybe overlap each other. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, there's plenty to be inspired by in our own lives, and this is just another way of looking at it.
Yeah. Is it mostly? It's great stuff, by the way. Is it mostly about life? Is it about business? Is it a mix? Is it about personal stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Got it covered. I love those
yeah,
types of questions where you can just say
yeah,
yes.
you just say
What
yes.
is the book about? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, talk to me about that.
No, so the originally I thought I wanted to write something that would be daily inspiration for sales. And there's probably 20% maybe that's written about sales. I mean, that have snippets of things that I've done in my sales life. And so you can go through and you can pick those things out and you can see those things, but it also applies to people who aren't in sales, right? Whether you're
Mm-hmm.
in business or you're in college or you're in high school. I mean, there's things in there that you could pick up and you go, oh, it's how you handle this or how you speak to people or how you treat people. And that's the beauty of this is there are all facets are covered, so to speak, right? Whether it's life or business or whatever. It's an opportunity for you to kind of look at things and think a little bit differently about what you're doing. And some days it's going to speak to you. I wrote this in the introduction. Easy for me to say that that some days it's going to hit you, and it'll be like a ton of bricks, and you're going to be like, man, that's speaking right to me. And other days you're going to go, not so much, not today,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay because I do that too with the daily inspirational books. I go, sometimes they hit spot on. It's like, man, why'd they write that for me today? Right? How'd they know I was thinking about that? And then I can go to the back of the book and you can go to the back of my book and you can look for something specific. You can say, hey, I'm really going through a lot lately with this. And you probably can find it in the back of the book and you can go specifically to that day or dates and you can check it out and
Mm-hmm.
maybe get inspired or motivated from those things.
All right, great. So you have an interesting background, Chris. What I learned about you is that you were a Division 1 college football player, which is no small feat. I think a lot of people who are in high school dream about that. How did that come about in your life, and what lessons, maybe a couple lessons you learned from it?
Well, we had this very conversation when I first met you. So I love this conversation. And you've forgotten about it since, which I love. Is so when I tell it to you, you're like, really? I said that? I had the opportunity in when I was in high school, I played football and I did well. But we went winless our senior year. We were projected to do really good things, but we had a number of injuries, myself included. We had several injuries on the team, and so we went winless our senior year, which was almost devastating. I mean, to the point where it's like, holy mackerel, do I ever want to do this again? But I love playing football. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the being a part of the team and that kind of stuff. And I decided to walk on to the University of Illinois, and I was able to make the team, and I lettered, and I got a couple of letters as a walk on because I just wanted to contribute. I just wanted to be a part of the team and do whatever I could to be a part of that because that's just who I was. And I really enjoyed it. So I was very lucky. I was very blessed. I mean, I'm 6'5" and 230 pounds, and I could catch a ball and I could throw a ball and I could run and I could block and I could do those things. And I watched today. I mean, I watched football today. I'm like, I couldn't play today. There's no way. But you're right, Harry. It's interesting when you hear the stats, and I haven't heard it in a while, but the number of high school students playing football gets whittled down to like 3% maybe in college. So 3% of the kids that play in high school go on to play college football. And then I think it's 1 or even 0.5% go on to play professional. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's such a minute number. And so I feel very lucky and very blessed to be able to participate in that and to walk away.
Yeah, exactly. So just I just love the story about you walking onto, walking into what did that look like, right? It's like, hey, I'm here. I'd love to try out and play. I just came from a team that lost every game we played, and
Right.
I know I can contribute something. So what was that like, and what did it actually look like?
Well, back in the day, you have to inform them that you're interested in doing such, right? I mean, you can't just show up one day because it's not like it's an open forum. It's not like they go, okay, who wants to play today?
Hmm.
They get thousands of people that probably reach out to them and say that they want to play. Back in my day, I had to inform them that I was coming to school there. I got accepted to the University of Illinois, and I informed the athletic department that I wanted to reach out, or wanted to come and try out for the team. And so I was invited to do so. And I showed up in early August, or it was early August at the time, early mid August, and I got to try out for 2 days. And they didn't kick me off the team, but I never got a scholarship, and that's okay. But again, they were only allowed so many scholarships, and that kind of stuff at the time too. So, but yeah, it was a great experience. It was pretty cool actually. But there were, I think there were 100 and maybe 110, 120 kids on the team. So I was one of 120, 110. So
Yeah, out of a few thousand that wanted to be on the team, right? Or maybe millions. So,
well, I don't know about that.
right.
I'm not going to blow that number up, but yeah, it's. I mean, I know that. I mean, think about all the, like I said, all the kids that go to play high school football, and they want to move on and play some sort of college football. I just happened to pick a good sized school right at the University of Illinois. I'd gotten opportunities. I mean, I could have gone and played Division II or Division III. I wanted to go to Illinois. I
Hmm.
just had that in my mind and in my heart that I wanted to do that. And so I was, like I said, I was able to do that.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the big lessons you learned from that experience in your life of joining or saying you wanted to play and ending up playing? What was a big lesson you learned?
I think the thing for me was there were people that were just there. They were on scholarship and they were just there. They were taking up space. And I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be somebody who contributed. I wanted to be someone who gave to the team. And if the team got success from that, that's awesome, right? If I could do something to contribute to the success of the team, that was my motivation. And I was gifted enough to have the abilities to play, right? I mean, I could play athletics. So it was one of those things that, that it all kind of came together. And excuse me, and again, it was just a remarkable experience. I
Yeah.
wouldn't, you can't trade that.
Now, and so how did you take that lesson, right? You said it's a lot about being gifted, but I'm gonna just just struggle with that one a little bit because a lot of people are gifted don't get to play Division 1 anything,
Right.
right? I mean, so there's something else that goes along with being gifted. What would you say that is?
Well, obviously you see it in a lot of people, Harry, is you see the heart, you see the devotion and the drive to get up and go. I'm a type A personality, like an A-, not like an A++, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
driven, but I'm not like driven to the fact that, or to the sense that I live and breathe and die by this particular thing. I'm motivated to get up and work out and do those things and help out the team. And so I wanted to work on my craft. I wanted to get
Mm-hmm.
better at what I did. And I believe that is what drove me later in life and sales and all these other things that I've done. Right. And those are the things that I look at for people who want to succeed or people who want to do. You set a goal, like you said, you got hundreds or thousands of people who say, I want to do this. I want to play football. I want to write a book. I want to start my own business. It's, you may have the ability to do it, but will you follow through with it? Right? Will you
Yep.
continue to do the things that you say you were going to do and drive that? And that's where the imposter syndrome and all that other stuff, it comes into your head, it happens,
Mm-hmm.
but then you got to push it aside and say, hey, I've got people like Harry in my life. I've got people like Kathy Svatina and Mike O'Neill and Scott and Scott Chappelle, right? I mean, we all help each other and encourage each other and really uh, motivate each other really at different times, because there are different times when I don't feel like getting up and I don't feel like moving forward and I don't feel like this or that. But those days are minimal. And a
Hmm.
lot of times it's just a thought, and you just have to move that thought aside and move forward.
Yeah, it's great. So going back just from youth through college, you had this great experience playing football, probably learned a ton from coaches. Are any of those coaches in your book?
Not by name.
Okay.
No. I spoke of a couple of different experiences. There's my tight end coach, one of my favorite tight end coaches. Um, his name is Sean. He actually is still a collegiate football coach,
Hmm.
and really enjoyed working with him. He was actually a GA, a grad assistant at the time, but Mike White was my head coach at the time. And then when he moved on, it was John Makovic. Yes, sorry, I was trying not to get him mixed up with the actor John Malkovich.
Yeah.
It's John Makovic. He came in for a time and then he moved on as well. But those were my two coaches in college. But yeah, I mean, great experiences, great people, learned a lot from them. Um, I don't call a lot of people out by name in my book, and I
Hmm.
did that specifically because I didn't necessarily want to give give somebody recognition or leave somebody out. And that
Right.
was my bigger fear, was the
Yeah.
recognition being left out. And so a lot of it is some of the stories that are being told, I didn't want to reveal the names anyways, right?
Hmm.
Just because of some of the things, they may have been sensitive.
Sure. Yeah.
So
No, that makes sense.
I was okay with revealing me and my story, but not necessarily anybody else's. So
Right.
that I did purposefully leave a lot of names out of it in
Hmm.
terms of what I wrote about
Yeah.
and the experiences I had.
So what jumps out for you in the book is, you know, some great story that you don't mind sharing here with us that doesn't kill the whole reason to get the
The whole
book.
vibe of the book. No. Um, there's I ran across one quote that really, it resonated with me so much and still does. I love the quote. And the author of the quote is a guy named Peter, and I'm going to butcher his name, and please forgive me, Peter. It's it's Chayakowski, and it's Chiykowski. So um, he's a short story writer, and I love the quotes that he does in his little short stories. Well, I found this one. It's called "When You Survive This," and it says, and I'm going to read it real quick. It says, "When you survive this, it will not be because someone said you could, although it's good to be reminded from time to time. And when you survive this, it will not be because you had the money in the bank or a roof over your head, because there may come a time when you have neither, and still you will survive this." That to me just it hits so hard, so and appropriately, right? It wasn't
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, that just kills me. It was just, I think about that through the life that we live, right? That hard times come and hard times go, good times come and good times go. All of this stuff happens for a reason. And maybe it's simply that we needed to learn something from that. But
Right.
I love the just the four words, when you survive this,
Hmm.
because you will.
Yeah.
So,
Right. You're still standing.
yeah.
Right. So your post collegiate career, did you end up getting right into sales? I mean, you've been in sales now for the last 20 plus years of your life. Is that what I get? Or talk to me a little bit about that.
You're being very kind. It's 30 plus, but yes. Um, my first job out of college was in sales. I was working at a Pizza Hut in college, and um,
You were
you know, I
working where?
you heard me, Pizza Hut. I
Oh
was
my
working at a Pizza Hut.
goodness. The things we learn from the
Yes,
Red
yes, yes,
Chair Experience author. He was a Pizza Hut guy.
yes. I was,
I will never
and
look at Pizza Hut the same.
you shouldn't. Absolutely. No, it was a great experience, and one of my first leadership opportunities was with that at school, was with the Pizza Hut. And I think I talk about it in the book, but yeah, I got the opportunity to lead, and I was like, oh, I want to lead, I want to lead, I want to lead, and I want to run the store. I had no clue what I was doing, so the manager and the assistant manager were gone, and I got the opportunity to be in charge of the lunch rush.
Mm-hmm.
We gave away so many pizzas that day because they had a deal. It was the 5 minute lunch deal, and so
Yeah.
I messed that up big time. But I learned so much from that experience.
How do you get
But
pizza in 5 minutes? Oh, no, that's another topic. We won't go there.
that's a totally different
My
topic.
mind is
But
spinning.
yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But
All
I'm
right.
sorry, you asked me a question and I totally
Yeah. So
forgot. So
you
I
ended up
went right
getting
into
into
sales.
sales.
Yes,
So
I
that was,
did.
yeah.
So when I
Sorry.
graduated college, I did go into sales. I got a degree in speech communications. I tell people I learned how to talk in college. And I could have done a number of things. I could have been a speechwriter. I could have been human resources. I could have done blah, blah, blah. But I was fascinated by this opportunity for sales. Nobody in my family was really in sales. So I got the opportunity, and my first job out of college was kind of like your first job out of the ministry, which is I sold mailing and shipping equipment like Pitney Bowes, but it was for
Mm-hmm.
a company called Freed and Alcatel. And what an experience that I had there. And it became very quickly, 100% commission with us. It was a draw against commission. And it was, man, what a scary time, but what an exciting time too, right? Because you eat what you kill, right? I mean, it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things that you got to be on your game. Otherwise you don't have game. Right. And then you're sitting there wondering, what am I doing? So yeah, I got right into sales, and I got the opportunity to do different things. I've sold a number of different things over the years, and customer service and operations and sales management and general management and training and coaching. And so, yeah, it's not a very straight road, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And nonetheless, it's a road. And what lessons would you say that you took out of playing football applied in sales?
I did write an entry about that, sales and sports. And that was one of the very first entries that I did. But the biggest thing I think about sale or about sports is you learn resilience. You learn how to be resilient. You have the opportunity, especially in football. You literally get knocked down. The question is are you going to get back up? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, right?
Mm.
And it's understandable, but you still have to mentally get up every single time. You have to come back and say, I'm going to do this differently. What did I learn from that? And I always ask myself two questions when I get done with sales calls now, and that is, what did I do right and what could I do better? And I believe that those, aside from a conversation that I had with a buddy of mine years ago, Gary, thank you, Gary, Gary Fader, and aside from that conversation, because that's where we really formulated those two questions. But I was I was always doing those things, but I didn't realize I was asking myself those questions over the years. But I believe that a lot of that came about as a result of that, because you start to ask yourself, how can I improve? What can I do better? Right. And we negatively think about well, I just really screwed that up and I totally bombed on that. But that's not improving yourself. All you're doing is recognizing the bad that you did. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I turn that question around and say, okay, what could I do better? Right? What could
Yeah.
I have learned from this situation? And again, there's nothing new under the sun. So I'm borrowing all these things that I've learned over the years. But for me, that's what sports taught me is how to be resilient and how to get back up again, and how to say, okay, what can I do to improve this? Right. And maybe we can't run that same play again, but we can do it a little bit different. Maybe we go to the tackle gap instead of the guard gap, or maybe we go outside run instead, or maybe we look at running the post pattern versus the flag pattern, right? I mean, you have to write it up a little bit differently next time.
Mm. Nice. So when you were walking onto the team back, with
A few
the
years ago, yeah.
University of Illinois. Uh, all right. So I was thinking the thing that you said that struck a chord was that you said, well, maybe I can make a contribution. Is that what you said? Something
Mhm.
along those lines?
Yes.
Where did that come from? Because that's just so out there that, it just doesn't seem like that would be what a young man of 18 or 19 would say.
Well, couple of things you have to realize, and not everybody knows this. So when I walked on to the University of Illinois, they had one of the top tight ends in the country playing for him, a guy named Cap Boso. He went on to play professional football. They recruited the number one tight end in the nation, I believe at the time, Anthony Williams, to come and play. They already had two other tight ends, or there were several people on the team. So I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
the first. I'm like number 6 in line
Yeah.
in terms of playing time. And so, I mean, I was not even a consideration. And so for me, and then they continued to bring on, I mean, excellent tight ends, Jerry Reese and Jeff Finke. I mean, they bring these guys in and they just, it's like a well-oiled machine, right? I mean, Mike
Mm-hmm.
White knew how to recruit back in the day. And so you get these positional people, and I'm a walk-on. I'm good. I'm just not that good. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe I've got some ability. And so I look at myself versus all these guys, and I think my goal was, um, in college, they have these prep squads. So you have because you had 120 people, right? 110 people, you could field an offense and a defense. So you'd put your number one defense against another offense that was showing you the plays for the week, right? So what Michigan or Illinois, or I'm sorry, Iowa or Indiana or somebody else was going to produce, or we saw on film. And so that's what I did. Is I was on the prep squad most of the time, and my goal, literally every week, was to be the offensive prep person of the week. Right? Was
Mm-hmm.
to work that hard and to give that much so that I can contribute, so that the guy across from me, Bobby Sebring, or some of these other guys that played linebacker, that they could get better. Right? That was my
Mm-hmm.
goal, was to mirror what these other folks were doing enough so that these guys across from me on my team could get better. And that was my contribution. I couldn't be first string tight end. I couldn't play in the games, at tight end, and that was okay. Though I did play 3 downs. I
Mm-hmm.
did at tight end, but most of mine was on special teams. I got to do that. But it really came from that mentality of saying, hey, okay, if I can't do this, how can I contribute? Because if I can't contribute, I shouldn't be here. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to go to waste. So,
All right. So, how has that manifested in business? That same attitude, or has it?
well, again, so maybe I don't get to be on Harry Spate's team, but how can I contribute? I know that I can contribute. I can do something to improve Harry and improve his team, because we all need somebody to improve, right? Us. We all need help with that, because no offense, we're not that good. We're good, but we're not that good. Gary Vee has help, right? Deepak Chopra has help, right? Oprah Winfrey has help. These
Mm-hmm.
people have help. Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg, right? I mean, all these folks, they have help. Question is are you that person that can help them, right? Are you somebody that can be a contributing portion of what they're doing? And they don't have to be the Oprahs or the Deepoks, right? They could be a Harry Spaight or a Chris Michel or a Scott Chappell, right? I mean, it could be whomever. It,
Mm-hmm.
it, it could be somebody in your wheelhouse. You get to contribute to what they're doing because you have insights and you have things that you see because you're standing away from the problem as opposed to in the problem.
Yeah, I love it. So true, and that works everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Do you
We
want to
all need
expand on
somebody
that?
to help us.
Yeah,
We all do. The
yeah,
question is who are you going to let help you?
yeah. It's great. Coach Chris Michel will be one of those who I let help. All right, so you've written this book. It's like a million words, but you can read a short piece of it every day in 3 minutes. That's something I can relate to because my attention span is that of a mouse. So if the book is available, we're recording this mid-April 2022. When will this be where I could get my slimy, greasy paws on it? When will that be available?
Actually, it's being printed as we speak. So I'm expecting my books to come in the next week or two. And I already have pre-orders. Thank you all who've pre-ordered it. Harry, thank you as part of that. But For those that have pre-ordered it, you should have it within the next, I would say, 10 to 14 days. If I'm guessing properly, don't hold me to that. But it's actually going to be widely available on May the 5th. It will be available on Amazon on May 5th.
All right. And I'm going to encourage you, anyone who has pre ordered the book, no matter where you get the book from, write a review. Give Chris some props and put that review on Amazon. It will mean the world as far as that book popping up and bringing value to others. So the whole concept of providing value and making a contribution. That's why I love Chris Michel, ladies and gentlemen. He's a great guy. He's there to serve, just like every other, athlete, college football athlete. No, I'm just kidding. You're special, and I certainly appreciate you. All right, so where can Chris be found? This is the closing of this podcast conversation. I hate to bring it to an end, but where can people find you, Chris, and get more extreme value from you?
Well, the best place is just go to my website, coachchrisconsulting.com. And that's probably the best way to find me. But you can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram. What else am I missing? YouTube. I mean, you can find me anywhere, really. It's Coach Chris Consulting. That's the best way to find me. And if you want the book, go to theredchairexperience.com and you can get a signed or an unsigned book there. And you can actually leave a review.
Excellent. So what's the big plan for the future, Chris?
I just sell 1 million books and,
Nice. All right, man. It's great having you on the Sales Made Easy podcast. You're like a real good friend, and totally love seeing what you're doing and making a contribution to the world. So good for you and good for everyone who knows you.
Thank you, Harry.
All right. You're awesome. Chris Michel, ladies and gentlemen. Man, sales is tough. I'm just not cut out to be a salesperson. Have you ever felt that way? Selling doesn't need to be so difficult. My name is Harry Spaight. I'm here to serve and to help you succeed. Join me as we discuss sales made easy.